Save a swamp, sauté a nutria. That's the message the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently put out. It's part of a push to curb invasive species across the country, including right here in Oregon. So joining us this morning is Tom Kaye, the founder and chief scientist at the Institute for Applied Ecology. Tom, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so first, what kind of invasive species do we have here in Oregon, and how did they get here?
We have a long list of invasive species in Oregon, unfortunately. That ranges from animals to plants to all kinds of different things. Some that might be familiar to people are blackberries and bullfrogs. Others you might not have heard of might be the emerald ash borer, kind of insects, the insect that is killing trees in Oregon, or quagga mussels. There's just a long list, and they come from all over the world, Asia, Europe, Africa, you name it. Often, though, from a different continent. Those are the most common invasive species we have that are coming from a long distance. Although the American bullfrogs are invasive here in the West, they're native in the East.
What's some of the worst harm that some of these species are causing here?
Well, overall, these species are a drag on the economy. They cost something north of $124 billion a year in the U.S. economy. That is no small amount of money. But they also cause human health problems and environmental problems. Some of the worst species we have, include blackberry. It's just a terrible weed. It spreads and destroys habitats throughout our state, especially west of the Cascades. But there are others that we either have or we're on the watch for, like the American bullfrog is a species that kills and damages lots of other wildlife species. You'd be surprised. And feral swine are causing erosion and crop loss. These are wild boars that just dig in the soil, and they're like bulldozers and tractors just running amok on our landscape. And then things we're watching out for are like the quagga mussels and zebra mussels that literally clog the pipes in dams. They threaten the ability to create hydroelectric power and run water infrastructures in our state. And when these get in, they clog pipes. They're like the mussels that coat the pipes with their colonies, and they're extremely difficult to get rid of. They're really a one-way street. Our best option is to keep them out of the state. And they were detected at a checkpoint in Oregon about 4 years ago. So we know that watching for them is a good idea, because once they're here, there's no going back.
Yeah, and obviously, as we just said, you guys are encouraging people to eat some of these invasive species. So obviously, blackberries. We all already love going out there and picking blackberries. But what other invasive species in our state are actually edible that maybe people would be surprised about?
Well, some of them are delectable, like blackberries. And we can talk about this in a moment. We host an event every year called the Invasive Species Cook-Off. And blackberry dishes are a frequent entry and component on the menu. But there are other things like, wild turkeys are an invasive species now in Oregon. They were introduced as a wildlife or game species, but they're non-native, and they displace wildlife, and they're actually kind of pests in urban neighborhoods now. But they're quite good to eat. The wild boar can be quite tasty, a little gamey maybe at times, but if you prepare them right, the wild boar is excellent food. Bullfrogs, I annually prepare bullfrog legs and go hunting at night for bullfrogs. Cool. Nutria, which were featured in a recent story by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that you mentioned, are really very aggressive invaders and eat a lot of plants and cause erosion and farm loss. But they look kind of like a large rodent, so they're a turnoff for a lot of people around here. But they're quite good to eat, and the meat is good. It's more like rabbit than anything else.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you that. What does a nutria taste like? And rabbit doesn't sound like that would be bad. I'd be down to try it.
Yeah, prepared correctly, it's quite good. And then people often ask what do bullfrog legs taste like, and some people say they taste like chicken, and I say they taste like dinosaur, which tastes like chicken.
I love that. That was great. What do you need to know if you're going to hunt these and cook them or trap them? What do you need to know before you go out there and do this?
Yeah, many of these species are just out on the landscape and can be collected, but sometimes permits are required. Even if they're an invasive species, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife may require a permit for their hunting or collection. And you need to know whose land you're on. So you need to know if you have permission to be there and be taking these things.
Yeah.
And you need to be aware of, are there lookalikes or other species that might not be palatable or edible that you want to watch out for. So arm yourself with good information. Check online with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, especially if you're going after any kind of animal.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the information.
And I
And
want to
some
make
species like the purple, yeah.
I just want to make sure we get this in because we're running out of time. I want to ask you about that invasive species cookoff in Corvallis. When does that happen? Tell me about
Oh, yeah,
that.
sure. Oh, so the invasive species cook-off is usually in August annually in the Corvallis area, and you can buy tickets online. We don't have those posted yet, but if you're interested in finding out more about when those are available, you can go to our website, appliedeco.org, and sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get those notifications. And but every year it's an event, and we mix it up every year. Lately, we're in our food cart phase, so we're working with a local food cart group so that each of the food carts prepares a dish with invasive species. You buy a ticket and you get a small plate from each of the food carts. We also have a competition, so if you've collected or prepared some invasive species that you want to put up for judging to see if it's the best dish in a variety of categories like meat or vegetarian, you can do that. So we have a panel of judges that we rank the dishes and we give awards for those sorts of things. It's a lot of fun. We call it both a fundraiser and an awareness raiser, or a friend raiser overall.
I can't wait to perfect my nutria steak and bring it to the festival, to the cook-off. Thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you, Tom Kaye, with the Institute for Applied Ecology. What an interesting conversation.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Of course.